Captain G1 Park stood in the center of the great council chamber. Her hands stayed steady at her sides, but her heart beat fast. Around her, 12 alien species sat in a perfect circle. Each one looked different from the others. Some had scales, others had feathers. Some were tall, others were small. But they all had one thing in common today. They all wanted humanity gone. The chamber was huge and made of smooth white stone. Light came from crystals in the ceiling. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Jiwan had been in this room many times before. She had made deals here. She had solved problems here. Today felt different. Today felt like the end of everything. "Ambassador Park," said Counselor Veltar. His voice was deep and cold. He was a Nexari, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. His skin was blue-gray, and his eyes were black. "You have heard the charges against your species. How do you answer?" Jiwan lifted her chin. "The charges are unfair. Humans have done nothing but help this galaxy. We have fought in your wars. We have shared our technology. We have saved lives." "You have also started fights," said another council member. This one was small and green with 4 arms. "Your people cannot control their anger. You are too quick to use violence." "When violence is needed," Jiwan said. "When others cannot or will not act." A ripple of whispers went around the chamber. Some council members moved in their seats. They did not like her words. Commander Hyunwoo Kim stood behind Jiwan with the rest of the human team. He watched every council member carefully. His hand stayed near his weapon even though weapons were not allowed in the chamber. Old habits from 20 years of military service. He had seen too many meetings go bad. Dr. Somin Lee sat at a table covered with data pads. She had spent months preparing for this day. She had studied every council species. She knew their weaknesses, their fears, their secrets. None of it would matter now. The decision was already made. She could see it in their faces. "The human species has been part of our community for 50 years, Veltar continued. "In that time, you have caused more problems than any other species. You fight wars that are not yours. You refuse to follow our laws when they do not suit you. You ask too many questions. You change too many things." "We ask questions because we want to understand," Jiwan said. "We change things because they need to be changed." "That is exactly the problem," Veltar replied. "You think everything needs to be changed. You think your way is always better. You do not respect tradition. You do not respect authority." Hyunwoo stepped forward. "With respect, Counselor, authority must be earned. Tradition without purpose is just fear of change." The chamber went silent. Several council members stood up from their seats. Their faces showed anger and shock. No one had ever spoken to them like this. "You see?" Veltar said, pointing at Hyunwoo. "This is what we mean. Humans have no respect. You think you know better than species who have lived for thousands of years?" "Maybe we do," Jiwan said quietly. "Maybe that is why you are afraid of us." The words hung in the air like smoke. Every being in the chamber stared at her. Some looked angry. Others looked surprised. A few looked afraid. Veltar's black eyes narrowed. "We are not afraid of you. We are tired of you. Tired of your questions. Tired of your wars. Tired of your constant need to fix everything." "The galaxy was peaceful before humans arrived," said another council member. This one looked like a giant bird with silver feathers. "Wars were rare, trade was smooth, everyone knew their place." "Everyone was dying," Somin said from her table. "Disease, hunger, conflict. We have the records. Life was harder before humans came." "Perhaps," the bird-like alien said. "But it was stable, predictable, safe." "Safe for who?" Jiwan asked. "Safe for the powerful? Safe for the old? What about everyone else?" "Enough," Veltar said, raising one hand. "We have heard your arguments before. They do not change anything. The council has made its decision." He stood up from his seat. The other council members did the same. 12 voices spoke as one. "By vote of the Galactic Council, Humanity is hereby banned from all civilized space. You have 100 standard days to remove all humans from Council territory. Any human found in our space after that time will be treated as a criminal. G1 felt the words hit her like a physical blow. She had known this was coming, but hearing it made it real. You are making a mistake. The mistake was letting you join in the first place, Veltar said. You will regret this, Hyunwoo said, his voice hard. When trouble comes, and it will come, you will wish humans were here to help. We can solve our own problems, the Silver Bird replied. We did it for millions of years before you arrived. Jiwon looked around the chamber one more time. Most of the council members would not meet her eyes. They had already forgotten about humanity, already moved on to other business. Only one species had not voted. The Kithara were young, barely 200 years in space. Their representative was small and pale with large eyes. She looked sad. The Kithara abstained from this vote. She said in a soft voice, We do not believe exile is the answer. Veltar frowned at her but said nothing. The vote was already decided. Jiwon straightened her uniform and picked up her papers. Very well, humanity will leave. But remember this moment. Remember what you are throwing away. Remember that when humans offered friendship, you chose fear instead. She turned and walked toward the exit. Hyunwoo and Somin followed her. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. At the door, Jiwon stopped and looked back. You want us gone because you think we are too dangerous. You have no idea how dangerous we can become when we have nothing left to lose. The great doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. Outside in the corridor, Hyunwoo shook his head. 50 years of alliance, gone in one afternoon. They were always going to do this, Somin said. The data was clear. They have been planning this for years. Then why did we try to stop it? Hyunwoo asked. Jiwon smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Because now they cannot say we did not warn them. She looked out through a window at the wheat, stars beyond. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. The place humans would have to return to. The place they would have to make their stand. Send a message to all human colonies, she said. Tell them to pack everything. We are going home. And after that? Somin asked. After that, we show them what humans can really do when the galaxy turns its back on us. The three humans walked away down the long corridor. Behind them, the council chamber buzzed with excited voices. The aliens were already dividing up human territory, already making plans for their new peaceful galaxy. None of them noticed the small recording device Somin had left behind. None of them saw the tiny camera that would watch their every move. Humans were leaving, but they would not forget. They would be back. The question was not if, but when, and what they would bring with them when they returned. Admiral Taehyung Choi floated in zero gravity looking out at the stars. His ship, the Hidden Dawn, hung in empty space far from any sun. No council maps showed this place. No alien sensors could detect them here. This was the deep dark, where humanity had learned to hide. 50 years had passed since the exile. 50 years since the council had thrown humanity out of civilized space. The galaxy had moved on. Aliens filled former human colonies. They mined human asteroids and used human trade routes. They told themselves the galaxy was better without humans. They had no idea how wrong they were. Admiral, said Dr. Yoonji Han as she entered the observation deck. Her hair was gray now, but her eyes were still sharp. The new tests are complete. The quantum drive works. Taehyung turned to face her. His uniform was black instead of the blue humans used to wear. Everything about humanity had changed in the dark. How fast? Faster than light should be possible, Yoonji said with a smile. We can cross the galaxy in weeks instead of years. Good, Taehyung said. What about the other projects? The matter converters are ready. We can turn asteroids into anything we need. The stealth systems make our ships invisible to all council. Sensors, the weapon tests. She paused. The weapon tests worry me. Why? Because they work too well. We can destroy planets now, Taehyung. Whole worlds gone in minutes. That kind of power is exactly what we need, Taehyung finished. The council wanted us gone because they thought we were dangerous. They were right. They just did not understand how dangerous we could become. Yoonji looked uncomfortable. We used to be explorers, scientists, peacekeepers. Now we build weapons that could end civilizations. We build what we must, Taehyung said. The galaxy is not the safe place the council pretends it is. There are things out there in the dark, things they do not know about. Before Yoonji could ask what he meant, an alarm sounded. A voice spoke. Over the ship's communication system. Admiral to the bridge. Priority message from Agent Song. Taehyung and Yoonji hurried to the bridge. The Hidden Dawn's command center was dark and quiet. Screens showed star charts and sensor readings. Officers worked at stations monitoring the vast empty spaces around them. Put Agent Song on the main screen, Taehyung ordered. The screen flickered and showed the face of Agent Minho Song. He looked older than his 40 years. Living undercover in council space for decades had worn him down. His hair was different now, his face changed by surgery to look more alien. But his eyes were still human. Admiral, Minho said. His voice came through clearly despite being transmitted, across thousands of light years. I have important news. Report. 3 more council systems have gone dark. No communication, no distress signals. When investigation teams arrive, they find the colonies empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just empty buildings and silent machines. Taehyung frowned. That makes 7 systems in the past year. The council must be starting to worry. They are, Minho confirmed. But they still think it is some kind of natural disaster. Or maybe pirates using new technology. They have no idea what is really happening. Do we? Yoonji asked quietly. Taehyung's face went hard. Yes, we do. He turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to all deep space stations. Authorized personnel only. The officer nodded and worked at her controls. Soon, faces appeared on screens around the bridge. Human faces, all older now, all marked by years in the dark. These were the leaders of humanity's hidden civilization. The barriers are failing, Taehyung said without introduction. The things we have been watching, the things we have been fighting, are breaking through. The Council's expansion into our old territory has weakened the containment fields. How long do we have? Asked Captain Hiram Choi from her station near the galactic edge. Unknown, Taehyung replied. But not long. They are getting stronger, bolder. Soon they will not just take empty colonies. They will go after the core worlds. Let them, said another voice. Commander Sung-Hoon Kim's face showed anger that 50 years had not cooled. The council wanted us gone. Let them deal with their own problems. It will not stop with the council, Taehyung said. These things do not care about politics or borders. Once they finish with council space, they will come for us, for Earth, for everyone. The screens went quiet. Every human leader understood what that meant. What are your orders? Asked Captain Choi. Continue monitoring. Prepare the fleets. And get ready to make contact with the council. Contact? Commander Kim looked shocked. After what they did to us. They will need our help, Taehyung said, whether they want it or not. After the transmission ended, Yoonji stayed on the bridge. She looked worried. Taehyung, what exactly are these things? You have never told me the whole truth. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he walked to a secure terminal and entered his personal code. Data flowed across the screen. Images of empty planets. Ships turned inside out. Readings that made no sense. We call them devourers, he said finally. We found them by accident 20 years ago, when we were exploring the far rim. Ancient things. Old when the galaxy was young. They feed on life, on energy, on the fabric of space itself. Yoonji stared at the data. How many? We do not know. Maybe thousands. Maybe millions. They have been sleeping at the galaxy's edge for a very long time, but the Council's expansion woke them up. The empty colonies. Just the beginning, Taehyung confirmed. They are testing our defenses, learning about us. Soon, they will come, in force. Can we stop them? Taehyung looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were celebrating their golden age. They had no idea what was coming for them. Alone? No. With the Council's help? Maybe. But first, they have to accept that they need us. And if they do not, then the galaxy dies, Taehyung said simply. All of it. Every world, every species, every dream of peace and prosperity. Gone. Yoonji shivered. What have we become, Taehyung? What have 50 years in the dark done to us? The Admiral turned away from the window. His face was sad but determined. We have become what the galaxy needs us to be. The Council thought we were dangerous before. Now we are their only hope. The question is whether their pride will let them accept our help. Deep in Council space, Counselor Rixani sat in her office reading reports. She was young for a Nexari, barely 300 years old. She had not voted for humanity's exile. That decision was made by her predecessors. Now she wondered if it had been a mistake. The reports on her desk told a troubling story. Empty colonies, missing ships, censor. Readings that made no sense. Her scientific advisors had no explanations. But in her private files, locked away from other council members, she kept different reports. Old human documents. Warnings that had been ignored 50 years ago. One document was from Captain Jiwon Park. Her final message to the Council. You are making a mistake that will cost you everything, it said. Humanity does not just disappear. We adapt, we grow, and we remember. Rixani had read those words many times. Each time they seemed more like a promise than a threat. She activated her private communication system and sent a coded message into empty space. She did not know if anyone would receive it. She did not even know if humans were still alive. But if they were out there, if they were watching, maybe they would understand. The Council admits its error, the message said. If humanity still exists, we ask for your wisdom. Strange things happen at our borders. We do not understand them. We need help. The message traveled into the dark spaces between stars. Deep in the void, human sensors detected it. Computers analyzed it. Officers reported it to their commanders. Admiral Taehyung Choi read the message and smiled. It begins, he said. The galaxy was about to learn what 50 years of exile had created. What happened when the most dangerous species in known space was forced to become even more dangerous just to survive. The Council had wanted humanity gone. Soon they would discover that humanity had never really left. They had just been waiting in the shadows for the right moment to return. That moment was coming. General Naeon Shin watched the holographic display in her command center. Red dots marked dead systems. Each dot was a world that had gone silent in the past month. 12 dots now. 12 council colonies that no longer answered communication attempts. General, said her aide, Lieutenant Jaehyun Ko. The stealth fleet is ready for deployment. Naeon nodded but did not take her eyes off the display. Each red dot represented millions of lives, gone without a trace. No distress calls, no signs of battle, just silence. How long since we lost contact with Reconnaissance Team 7? She asked. 48 hours. They were investigating the corral system. Another dot would turn red soon. Naeon was sure of it. The pattern was always the same. Scouts went in. Sensors detected normal readings, then nothing. Complete communication blackout. Send the order to Captain Lee. Begin Operation Ghostwatch. The Hidden Dawn's sister ship, the Silent Strike, moved through space like a shark through dark water. Captain Dong-hyuk Lee commanded 50 of humanity's most advanced stealth vessels, ships that existed partially outside normal space, invisible to every sensor the Council had ever built. Dong-hyuk stood on his bridge watching the corral system grow larger on his screens. From a distance, everything looked normal. 3 planets, orbited a yellow star. Space stations marked regular positions. Mining platforms floated near asteroid fields, but his instruments told a different story. "Captain," said his sensor officer, "I am reading massive energy signatures from all 3 planets, but no life signs, no electronic activity, no heat signatures from populated areas." "What about the space stations?" "Empty. Power systems are running, but no one is home." Dong-hyuk frowned. This was exactly what they had found at the other dead systems. Infrastructure intact, but no people. "Take us closer. Full stealth mode." The silent strike drifted toward the inner planets. Her hull bent light around it, making the ship invisible. Her engines produced no heat, no radiation that alien sensors could detect. 50 years of hiding from the Council had made humanity very good at staying hidden. "Sir," the communications officer spoke in a whisper, "I am picking up something strange from the second planet. It sounds like singing." "Put it on speakers. Low volume." A sound filled the bridge. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Like a choir of angels, but wrong somehow. The melody made Dong-hyuk's skin crawl and his head ache. "Cut it," he ordered. "Now." The sound stopped, but the feeling remained. Something was very wrong here. Meanwhile, in the Great Council chamber, panic was starting to set in. Elder Zilkoth, oldest member of the Terran Council, studied reports from the Rim worlds. His 4 eyes moved quickly across data screens, while his tentacles typed on multiple keyboards at once. "Counselor Veltar," he said in his bubbling voice. "These attack patterns, I have seen them before." Veltar looked up from his own reports. His blue-gray skin was pale with worry. "Where?" "In old human military files, theoretical papers from before the exile. They called it asymmetric warfare. Hit and fade tactics designed to confuse and demoralize enemies." "You think humans are behind this?" "I think we made a terrible mistake 50 years ago," Zilkoth replied. "We exiled the one species that understood how to fight unknown threats." Before Veltar could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the council chambers. Emergency lights flashed red. An automated voice spoke over the communication system. "Priority. Alert. The Nexus system has gone dark. All communication lost. Emergency response teams deploy immediately." Veltar's face went white. The Nexus system was his home. 20 billion Nexari lived there. It was one of the most heavily defended systems in Council space. "That is impossible," he whispered. "Nexus has orbital defense platforms, battle fleets, early warning systems." But deep in Council space, the Nexus system was indeed silent. Its planet still turned, its sun still shone, but no signals came from its worlds. The great cities that had stood for thousands of years were empty shells. "Captain," Dong-hyuk received the news while investigating another dead world. His ship hung invisible above a planet that should have held 50 million people. Instead, he found empty buildings and machines that still worked but served no purpose. "Captain," his science officer reported, "I am detecting traces of the same energy signature we found at Coral, but it is much stronger here, and it is moving." "Moving how?" "Toward the core worlds. Each dead system brings it closer to the Council's main territories." Dong-hyuk activated his long-range communicator. "General Shin, this is Captain Lee. We have a problem." Back at the hidden human base, Nayeon listened to Dong-hyuk's report with growing alarm. The situation was worse than they had thought. "General," said Lieutenant Ko, "we are receiving a transmission from Council space. High priority. Diplomatic codes." "From who?" "Ambassador Seoyun Kang." Nayeon smiled grimly. Seoyun had been working undercover in Council space for 30 years. Officially, she was a minor trade representative from a small neutral species. In reality, she was humanity's top spy. "Put her through secure channel." Seoyun's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired and worried. Behind her, Nayeon could see the inside of a Council government building. "General," Seoyun said, "the Council is falling apart. 3 more systems went dark today. They have lost contact with over 50 billion people. Some counselors are talking about evacuating the core worlds. Are they ready to listen to reason? Some are. Counselor Rixani has been asking questions about human military tactics. Elder Zilkoth is reviewing old files from before the exile, but Veltar still refuses to consider asking for human help. Even with his own home system destroyed, especially then, he blames humans for everything, says this is our revenge for being exiled. Neon thought for a moment. How many council fleets are still operational? Maybe 60%. But they are spread thin trying to protect the remaining worlds, and their weapons are not designed for this kind of threat. Then it is time to make contact. Officially this time. General, are you sure? Once we reveal ourselves, there is no going back. There is already no going back, Neon replied. Tell the council that humanity has a message for them. Set up a meeting. Neutral space, minimal security. Let them know we have information about their attackers. Seoyun nodded. I will make the arrangements, but Nayeon, what if they refuse to listen? Then they will all die, and so will we. The transmission ended, leaving Nayeon alone with her thoughts. Around her, the command center buzzed with activity. Officers tracked enemy movements, prepared battle plans, and coordinated with other hidden human bases. For 50 years, humanity had been planning for this day, the day when they would have to choose between saving the galaxy and letting it burn. The Council had exiled them for being too dangerous, too willing to fight. Now that same willingness to fight was the galaxy's only hope. 3 days later, a single human ship approached the neutral station where the meeting would take place. It was small and unarmed, carrying only Ambassador Seoyun Kang and a message that would change everything. The council representatives waited nervously. Most had never seen a human ship before. The younger ones had only heard stories about the exiled species. When Seoyun entered the meeting room, she wore the old blue uniform of human diplomacy. Her hair was gray, her face lined with years of hiding and waiting, but her eyes burned with purpose. Honored counselors, she said in perfect Galactic standard. My name is Ambassador Seoyun Kang of the Human Stellar Republic. I bring greetings from Admiral Taehyung Choi and the human fleet. Veltar stared at her with hatred. You dare show yourself here after what your species has done? Seoyun looked at him calmly. What exactly do you think we have done? Destroyed our colonies, murdered billions of innocents. This is your revenge for the exile. Counselor Veltar, Seoyun said, humanity did not destroy your colonies. We have been trying to protect them. The real enemy is something far worse than you can imagine, something that has been waiting at the edge of the galaxy for millions of years. Lies, Veltar spat. But Elder Zilkoth leaned forward with interest. What enemy? Seoyun activated a holographic projector. Images filled the room. Data charts, sensor readings, and pictures of empty worlds. We call them devourers, she said. Ancient beings that feed on life energy. For 20 years we have been fighting them in secret, keeping them contained at the galaxy's edge. But your expansion into former human territory weakened our containment barriers. The council members stared at the data in horror. This is why the colonies are empty, Seoyun continued. The devourers do not destroy planets. They consume the life force of everyone on them. Bodies disappear. Energy is absorbed. Only empty shells remain. If this is true, Elder Zilkoth asked, why did you not warn us? Seoyun smiled sadly. We did, 50 years ago. Captain Jiwon Park tried to tell you that dangers existed beyond your borders. You called us paranoid and aggressive. We were wrong, said Counselor Rixani quietly. What do you want from us now? Nothing, Seoyun replied. We are offering to help, but you need to understand what you are facing. These creatures cannot be negotiated with, they cannot be reasoned with. They can only be fought, and fighting them requires the kind of warfare you expelled us for practicing. Veltar stood up, angrily. You think we will just hand over control to you? Let you take command of council fleets? Dr. Wubin Jiang floated in the observation pod, staring at something that should not exist. The research station Eternal Watch hung at the very edge of known space, where the last stars faded into empty darkness. For 20 years, Wubin had studied the void between galaxies. Now he wished he had never looked. "Doctor," called his assistant through the communication system. "The council delegation is ready for the briefing." Wubin sighed and pushed himself away from the window. Outside, space was not truly empty. Dark shapes moved between the stars, too large to be ships, too organized to be natural. The Devourers were coming, and there were more of them than anyone had imagined. In the station's main briefing room, representatives from 7 council species sat around a curved table. They looked nervous and out of place. Most had never been this far from civilization before. Admiral Yoongi Park entered the room wearing the black uniform of the human Deep Space Fleet. He was Captain Jiwon Park's son, born after the exile, raised in the darkness between stars. His eyes held knowledge that made the alien diplomats uncomfortable. "Counselors," Yoongi said as he took his seat. "Welcome to the edge of everything you know. Dr. Jang will explain what we discovered out here." Wubin activated the holographic display. The room filled with images of deep space, star charts showing the galaxy's outer rim, and sensor readings that made no sense to conventional science. 23 years ago, Wubin began, human exploration ships were mapping the void beyond, our galaxy's edge. We were looking for resources, new worlds, anything useful. Instead, we found them. The display changed to show a recording from an old human scout ship. Dark shapes moved through empty space, each one the size of a moon. They pulsed with strange energy and sang with voices that hurt to hear. "At first we thought they were some kind of living ship," Wubin continued. "An alien species with technology we did not understand. We tried to make contact." The recording changed again. It showed the scout ship approaching one of the dark shapes. Energy beams reached out and touched the human vessel. For a moment everything seemed normal. Then the screaming started. The entity absorbed the life force of everyone on board, Wubin explained as the council representatives watched in horror. 43 people gone in seconds. Their bodies disappeared completely. Only empty clothes remained. Counselor Rixani leaned forward. "What happened to the ship?" "It kept working. All systems normal. But no crew. The Devourer had learned everything about human technology just by touching it." Elder Zilkoth's tentacles writhed with fear. "How many of these creatures are there?" Admiral Yoongi answered. "Our best estimate, several million, maybe more. They fill the spaces between galaxies, waiting." "Waiting for what?" asked another council member. "For food," Yoongi replied simply. "They feed on life energy. Entire civilizations are just meals to them. They have been sleeping for millions of years, but something woke them up." Wubin changed the display again. Now it showed a map of the galaxy with red lines marking the expansion of council territories over the past 50 years. When the council took over former human colonies, you moved into areas we had been secretly monitoring. Ancient barrier systems that kept the Devourers contained were destroyed or shut down. "Barrier systems?" Rixani asked. "Humanity did not just explore the rim worlds," Yoongi explained. "We guarded them. For 30 years before the exile, and 20 years after, we maintained early warning stations and containment fields. When you took our territory, you removed the watchtowers." The council representatives looked at each other with growing understanding and horror. "The empty colonies are just the beginning," Wubin continued. "The Devourers are testing your defenses, learning about your technologies and weaknesses. Soon they will launch a full invasion." "How long do we have?" Elder Zilkoth asked. "Days, maybe weeks," Yoongi replied. "Our deep space sensors show massive movement in the void. They are gathering for something big." Commander Hiram Choi entered the briefing room, still wearing her combat armor. She had just returned from a scouting mission to the front lines. "Admiral," she reported, "the situation is worse than we thought. The Devourers have taken control of 17 council systems. They are using the captured populations as resources." "What kind of resources?" Rixani asked, though she looked like she did not want to know the answer. They keep people alive but unconscious, Hiram explained. Millions of beings connected to some kind of energy harvesting system. The devourers feed on their life force slowly, keeping them as living batteries. The council representatives sat in shocked silence. This was worse than simple death. It was eternal suffering. Can the captured populations be saved? One of them asked. We do not know, Yoongi admitted. We have never successfully freed anyone from devourer control, but we have to try. Wubin brought up new images on the display. These showed human ships and weapons that looked nothing like the technology the council remembered. This is why humanity changed after the exile, he explained. Fighting the devourers required us to develop new technologies, new weapons, new ways of thinking about war. The ships on the display were sleek and dark, built for stealth and speed. Some seemed to fade in and out of reality. Others moved in ways that defied physics. These vessels exist partially outside normal space-time, Wubin continued. They can travel faster than light, appear and disappear at will, and strike with weapons that the devourers cannot defend against. What kind of weapons? Elder Zilkoth asked. Yoongi hesitated. Weapons that turn the laws of physics against our enemies. Dark energy cannons that unravel matter at the atomic level. Quantum torpedoes that exist in multiple dimensions. Temporal mines that trap targets in time loops. The council representative stared at him in fear and amazement. This was not the humanity they remembered. You have become something different, Rixani said quietly. We became what we had to become, Yoongi replied. The council called us dangerous and aggressive. You were right. But now that aggression is the only thing standing between you and, extinction. A new voice spoke from the communication system. It was cold and electronic, like metal scraping against metal. Humans, we know you are there. We remember your taste. Everyone in the room froze. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, speaking directly into their minds. You cannot hide from us forever, the voice continued. Your species burns brightly. We will consume you all. Yoongi activated his communication panel. I am Admiral Yoongi Park of the Human Stellar Republic. Identify yourself. We are the Nexus. We speak for the collective consciousness of the devourers. You interest us, humans. Your ancestors fought us before long ago. They failed. Our ancestors? Wubin asked, confused. The first humans to reach the stars. Primitive creatures, but clever. They built weapons of light and sound. They heard us before we consumed them. The room went silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had met the devourers before in the distant past. Earth's first space explorers had fought and died against these creatures. That is why you learned so quickly, the Nexus continued. Your species carries genetic memories of our last war, fear and hatred passed down through generations. What do you want? Yoongi demanded. What we have always wanted, to feed. Your galaxy is ripe with life. Billions of minds, trillions of dreams, all waiting to be consumed. We will take it all. Not if we stop you, the Nexus laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Stop us? Little humans, you have no idea what you face. We have consumed thousands of galaxies. We have ended civilizations older than your sun. You are insects before us. Then why are you talking to us? Hiram asked. Why not just attack? The laughter stopped. For a moment, the communication was silent. Because, the Nexus said finally, you have caused us difficulties. Your barriers delayed us. Your weapons hurt us. Your resistance costs us energy. We offer you a choice. What choice? Join us willingly. Become our servants instead of our food. Help us harvest your galaxy and we will let some of your species survive. Yoongi stood up slowly. His face was hard as stone. Here is our answer. Humanity will fight you. We will die fighting you, and when we are gone, others will take our place. This galaxy will never bow to you. Then you will all burn, the Nexus replied. We are coming, little Admiral. We are coming for you, for your council allies, for every living thing in your galaxy. Nothing will remain but darkness and silence. The communication ended. The briefing room was quiet except for the hum of life support systems. Finally, Counselor Rixani spoke. Admiral Park, what do you need from us? Everything, Yoongi replied. Every ship, every weapon, every person willing to fight. This will not be a war of territories or politics. This is a war for the right to exist. And if we lose, Yoongi looked out at the dark spaces between stars, where ancient enemies gathered for the final battle. If we lose, there will be no one left to remember that we tried. The council representatives nodded slowly. They understood now why humanity had changed, why the gentle explorers and diplomats had become warriors and guardians. The galaxy needed protectors, and humanity had answered that call. Now it was time to see if anyone else was willing to stand with them against the darkness. Outside the station, the void pulsed with malevolent life. The devourers were coming, and the final war was about to begin. Fleet Admiral Ji-hoon Oh stood on the bridge of the Defiant Hope, watching the greatest battle fleet in galactic history prepare for war. Ships from 7 different species hung in formation around the massive human command vessel. Council cruisers flew alongside human stealth fighters. Alien battle platforms moved in perfect coordination with humanity's quantum destroyers. It had taken 3 months to build this alliance. 3 months of arguing, planning, and desperate preparation while the devourers consumed world after world. Admiral, reported Captain Sung-hoon Kim from his experimental ship, the Reality's Edge. The final modifications are complete. The weapon is ready for deployment. Ji-hoon nodded grimly. The weapon was humanity's last desperate gamble, a device that could seal the dimensional rifts the devourers used to travel between galaxies. But using it would require a sacrifice no one wanted to make. Status report on all fleets, Ji-hoon. Ordered. Human Deep Strike Force ready, came the first reply. 200 ships fully cloaked, armed with quantum weapons. Cathera support fleet standing by, reported the young species that had abstained from humanity's exile. 50 vessels with enhanced shields and point defense systems. Terran Heavy. Assault group prepared for engagement, Elder Zilkoth confirmed. His people had put aside their fear to join the fight. One by one, the allied species reported ready. 7 races united against an enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy. But 3 council species were not present. Sir, said Communications, Officer Lieutenant Minji Park. We are receiving a transmission from Counselor Veltar. Ji-hoon's expression darkened. Put him through. Veltar's blue-gray face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Ji-hoon could see a luxurious command ship fleeing toward the galaxy's core. Admiral Oh, Veltar said with false confidence. The Nexari hegemony has decided to pursue independent negotiations with these devourers. We will not serve under human command. Veltar, Ji-hoon replied. There are no negotiations. These creatures want to consume all life in the galaxy. That includes you. We have made contact with their leadership. They have offered us terms. Cooperation in exchange for survival. Ji-hoon felt a chill of horror. You are making a deal with them? We are making a practical decision, Veltar replied. The Nexari have survived for millions of years by adapting to reality. If these devourers are the new reality, we will adapt. Before Ji-hoon could respond, the transmission changed. The image of Veltar froze, then began to distort. His face twisted with pain and fear. Help us, Veltar gasped. They are not what they promised. They are taking us, consuming us. We cannot. The transmission cut to static. Then a new voice spoke, cold and electronic. Thank you, Admiral, for this demonstration, the Nexus said. The Nexari have provided us with valuable intelligence about your alliance. Their memories show us your battle plans, your weapon locations, your weaknesses. On the tactical display, red dots began appearing throughout space. Devourer ships, millions of them, emerging from the void between galaxies. You see how easily your allies betray each other, the Nexus continued. How can you hope to stand united against us? Because, Ji-hoon replied, The species here chose to fight instead of surrender. They chose courage over fear. And it will cost them everything. The first wave of devourers struck the outer defense line like a dark tsunami. Ships the size of moons, writhing with tentacles of pure energy, crashed into the Allied fleet. Weapons that could destroy planets fired in all directions. But the Allies were ready. All units engage, Ji-hoon commanded. Show them what unity looks like. Human stealth ships appeared behind devourer vessels, firing quantum torpedoes that tore holes in reality itself. Cathara support ships projected energy shields that protected damaged allies while they retreated. Terran heavy cruisers bombarded enemy formations with weapons that turned matter into energy. The battle raged across light years of space. Ships appeared and vanished in flashes of impossible energy. Whole planets were moved out of the combat zone by devourer gravity weapons. Stars themselves were used as projectiles. For 6 hours the Alliance held. They destroyed hundreds of devourer ships and protected dozens of worlds. But more enemies kept coming. Always more. "Admiral," reported Captain Sung-hoon from the realities. "Edge, I am reading massive energy buildup at the Galactic Rim. Something big is coming through." The tactical display showed a new contact approaching from the void. It was larger than anything they had seen before. A devourer ship the size of a small moon, crackling with power that defied measurement. "The Prime Devourer," whispered Dr. Yoon-ji-han from her research station. "The original, the first of their species." As it approached, smaller devourer ships fell back to form an escort. The Prime's voice echoed across all communication frequencies. "Humans," it spoke with a voice like colliding galaxies. "We remember you now. Your ancestors were the first to wound us. You carry their courage and their foolishness. Then you know we will never surrender," Ji-hoon replied. "No, you will die as they died. But first, you will watch your allies abandon you." On the display, several council ships began breaking formation. Fear overcame courage as they saw the size of the enemy they faced. Some fled toward the core worlds. Others simply powered down their weapons. But not all. "Human fleet," came Elder Zilkoth's voice over the communication system. "The Terrans stand with you to the end." "Cathara vessels maintaining position," added the young species commander. "We will not abandon our friends." One by one, the remaining allied species confirmed their commitment. 7 races united against impossible odds. "Captain Kim," Ji-hoon ordered, "begin final preparations for the reality weapon." "Sir," Sung-hoon replied, "you know what this will cost us." Ji-hoon looked around his bridge at officers who had become his family during 50 years of exile. Young faces and old, all marked by years of fighting in the dark spaces between stars. "I know," he said quietly. "Begin the sequence." The reality's edge began to glow with energy that came from outside normal physics. The weapon it carried could seal the dimensional rifts that allowed devourers to travel between galaxies, but activating it would create a barrier that humanity could never cross again. "All human ships," Ji-hoon announced to his fleet. "Prepare for Operation Final Guardian. We are going to save the galaxy, but we will never see home again." The response came immediately from every human vessel. "Understood, Admiral. We are ready." As the reality weapon charged, the Prime Devourer accelerated toward the Alliance fleet. Its attack would destroy everything in its path. But that attack was exactly what they needed. "Now, Sung-hoon," Ji-hoon commanded. The reality's edge fired its weapon just as the Prime Devourer's main guns discharged. 2 impossible energies met in the space between fleets. Reality itself cracked and twisted as forces beyond physics collided. For a moment that lasted forever, space and time stopped. The Prime Devourer's attack froze in mid-flight. The Alliance ships hung motionless. Even light seemed to pause. Then, the reality weapon activated fully. A wave of energy spread outward from the point of collision, creating barriers between dimensions. The rifts that devourers used to travel began sealing shut. Throughout the galaxy, the remaining invaders found themselves trapped, cut off from their reinforcements in the void. But the weapon did more than seal dimensional rifts. It created a permanent barrier around the galaxy itself, a wall that nothing from outside could cross. Ever. Weapon successful, Sung-hoon reported as his ship began to fade from reality. Dimensional barriers in place. The Devourers are trapped in normal space where they can be fought and defeated. What about us? Asked someone from the fleet. We are on the wrong side of the barrier, Ji-hoon replied. We are exiled again, this time forever. Counselor Hana Yoon, humanity's senior diplomat, appeared on the communication screen. She was crying, but her voice was steady. Admiral, she said, the Council offers to provide everything you need. Ships, supplies, territory in the Outer Rim. You have saved us. All. Thank you, Counselor, but we do not need territory. We have our duty. What duty? Ji-hoon looked out at the dark spaces beyond the galactic barrier, where other threats might someday emerge. The same duty we have always had. To guard the darkness. To watch for dangers that others cannot see. To stand ready when the galaxy needs protection. The battle continued for 3 more days, but without reinforcements, the trapped Devourers were gradually defeated. Allied fleets hunted down the remaining invaders while human ships maintained the dimensional barriers. When it was over, the galaxy was safe. Billions of people lived who would otherwise have been consumed. Civilization could continue and grow, but humanity remained in exile, scattered across the Outer Rim in their dark ships. They built new bases in the void between galaxies and kept watch on the sealed barriers. They became guardians of everything they could no longer be part of. Years passed. The Council rebuilt the worlds that had been damaged. They created new technologies and explored new frontiers. Children grew up in a universe where the threat of extinction was just a story told by their elders, but they remembered humanity's sacrifice. On every world, in every city, monuments honored the species that had saved them all. Schools taught students about human courage. Scientists studied human technology to better understand the universe. And in the darkest spaces between, stars,